Hey, Stevo here. We're continuing our series on love. This is part 2. How do we love forever? You know, it seems that one of the common themes in the movie is still the idea that we want to find that ultimate love that will last as long or longer than we do. It could seem a little old-fashioned, but it seems like a lot of people still want it, and for a good reason. It's actually what we were designed for in this life. If you didn't see part 1, you might want to go back and watch that, which we just talked about what is love to begin with, and what we ended up giving the definition for is a definition, as I said, you need to write down. Love is choosing to give another person what is in their best interest, regardless of how you feel or how they respond. And it is best done through the power of God, because we need God in our lives to have that kind of strength to love someone. And today we're going to talk about that forever part. Before we get into the how this works forever, that applying that definition of love, let's talk about some ideas that need to die. First of all is the one. You probably know what I mean. You see someone who starts dating and they finally go, I think this is the one. And the idea comes from, it's basically some movies and some folklore, and that is if you meet the right person, the one that you can spend your whole life with, that's the one, and it's kind of magical. If you're perfectly compatible and everything just seems to click, then it's just going to work out. You're in there, Let's take that apart. Is that really going to work? Well, here's the thing. Let's think back to our previous video. We think about that dumpy couple or any couple you see in town that's been together a long time, and you look at them and say, do you think they still have those, oh, this is the one feeling? I mean, no, man, life's beating them up. But those who stick it out, those who continue to love each other over time, it's not because they married the magical right person. There's something really wrong with that idea. And while we're talking about what's wrong with the one, let's take in two other ideas that go with it. One is, I married my soulmate, and so this is going to work out. Soulmate, I think, came from Plato or Socrates. It's garbage too. It's great if someone, you really connect with them out well, but I'm just going to tell you, there's going to come a time when your soulmate's going to feel like a cellmate that you hate. I married my best friend. That's the other one. I've got some guy best friends. I have no desire to be married to them. It's not going to make the marriage work because we're best friends. But also, the problem with best friend, soulmate, and the one is all the same thing, and that is, you got to know this, especially if you're very young. Let's just say that you're 18, you've met the one, or your best friend, or your soulmate, and you say, we're going to get married, it's going to be great because we're soulmates, we're best friends, he's the one, she's the one, whatever. Why is it not going to work? Because they're going to change. We all change. Let's just say you get married at age 19, and one of the first changes that's going to happen is both of you mature, is that the prefrontal cortex of your brain is going to mature, which changes the way you respond emotionally. So they're going to change pretty soon anyway, and you're going to go, who is this person? They're not quite the same, not quite as spontaneous or emotional or whatever as they used to be. And then if you end up having children, there's going to be a huge change there, because through the process of labor and of nursing the baby, the wife is going to bond to that baby, and it's going to change the dynamic between the husband and the wife. Maybe he was her all before that, no more. It's by nature going to change. So if she was the one, all of a sudden you got two over there, and one of them seems to be getting in your way of the relationship. It's the way it's supposed to be. But once again, if you're thinking there's some sort of a perfect relationship based upon the magical one, best friend or soulmate, you're going to feel betrayed and neglected. If you make it through the childbearing years, then there's just the child raising years if you have children, or just the everyday hardness of life. You have to earn a living, and things don't always go well. There's a lot of potential for conflict and struggle and arguments and misunderstandings. And so I call that the refinery phase, the middle years of life, where you're just working from before the sun up until well after sundown. And it's just a very hard time. And this is something that God intends for you to go through, because it beats the selfishness right out of you if you will stay with the marriage. That's just another change. And then brace yourself. What we have often called midlife crisis occurs somewhere between mid-40s-ish. It kind of actually starts sometime in the early 40s, especially for women. But and it goes maybe up through 50, 55 years of age, but your hormone levels, these hormones like testosterone in the guy who has made you who you are by and large up until now starts to decline. It's very threatening to a man. And for women, their estrogen and some other hormones start going out of whack. And once again, this has made you who you are up till now. Your personality is going to change. It's just yet another change. You get past those years, get up around 60, wow, a lot of health changes, your whole attitude can change, you get more flat in your affect often. Hey folks, here's the problem with mate, your soulmate, your best friend, and the one concept, and that is, if you're going to have a forever love, you need a love that is empowered in a way that you can make it through all of these difficult changes. So how do we find a love forever? Well, here's the thing. You are loved by God. This is something you got to know. God not only knew you from the time you were born, according to Jeremiah 1 and verse 5, and this is wild. He tells Jeremiah, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you and I appointed you to a job. You are so loved by God, and he knows that you are in a relationship and that you're getting married. And he is with you even when it gets tough. Matter of fact, he may have put you there because he knew it was going to get tough. And so you've got to be secure in your love, that you are loved, in order to love your spouse who is imperfect. And for them to love you, because you're imperfect, you also need them to love God as well. It's the optimum situation. If you struggle with this love for you, which it's very hard to grasp because it's very supernatural. You know, for the most part, we who are humans, if you do me okay, if you treat me well, I'll treat you well. We call that reciprocity, or you can call it transactionalism, sort of a business arrangement. If you let me down, then maybe I'll let you down, right? God's not that way. You're made in his image. You're his child. He loves you forever. And so if you struggle with God's love for you, what I would recommend you do is get my book, First Person Messiah, Transforming Your Life Through Amazing Encounters with Jesus, because this is one way to make Scripture come to life, is to really just, what I did is I took some stories of just regular people who met Jesus and enhanced them just a bit. I call it historical empathic fiction, to help us see exactly how Jesus loves people, even some of the most minor characters in the Bible. And it can really help transform your life. But you need to grasp increasingly, more accurately, God's love for you so that you can understand that God is part of your marriage. You know, it's God at the top and you and your spouse. It's not two people in marriage, it's three. And once you have God's love down, you can endure almost anything else in life. So here's the thing. So what does a forever love look like? The Apostle John, once again, has some great advice or truth for us in 1 John 4 and 18. He says, there is no fear in love, for perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. One of the reasons why we often end up fighting each other is because of fear. And whenever you're trying to love an imperfect person, and you're afraid they're going to reject you, you're afraid they're not going to give back what you're giving to them. Once again, if you grasp God's love for you, there is no fear. His love is perfect. Once again, probably the biggest help to me in staying married, but not just staying married, but having a thriving marriage for 40 years has been the fact that I understand what the covenant of marriage is. God established marriage, and it is a covenant. It's not a contract. It's not a social agreement. It is a covenant with God. He established the terms. The terms are one man, one woman, for life, sickness and health, till death do us part. It is a relationship where you have told him you will love this person, and love is, once again, choosing in the power of God to do what is best for another person, regardless of how you feel or how they respond. You know, the covenant in my worst moments, and everyone is going to have bad moments, is that you have to rely on God. It starts with him, and it ends with him. You can't control the other person, but you can influence the other person. You can love them. And the attitude that I always had in our roughest moments, and those roughest moments were usually just my attitude, is that looking at God who is in my marriage and saying, it's not going to fail because I quit it. I will do the best I can to do what is in the best interest of my wife, no matter how she responds or how I feel, through your power, God. So how to love forever? It starts and ends with God. Let's do this, folks. Stevo out.